Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for January 3rd, 2025. I hope you all have had a nice week out there in the financial markets, really getting a new year started here. And like always, we're going to take a look at the most recent VantagePoint AI predictive forecast. So if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on the link down in the description below, and you can get signed up for a live demonstration so you can learn all the specifics about how these predictive technologies and tools are helping traders make much better trading decisions out there in the marketplace. So as we typically do, we like to take a look at the SPY just to get a sense of the broader market. And we can see to start the year, well, we're down a little bit. And actually, if we go in a little bit of last year, we're continuing lower. And so this is where we looked at things like IWM and the Dow and really see a lot of this widespread weakness across the equity markets. And of course, this is where VantagePoint gets you ahead of those moves, whether it's that weakness coming in or new opportunities to the bullish side. And so let's go ahead and get caught up here. I actually wanted to bring through, we have IWM. We can again see all that weakness out of the Russell 2000 index. Here we have the Dow, so DIA forecast from VantagePoint as well. And we see a very, very strong forecast with the overall trend lower. Our short-term indicators from the Neural Index getting bullish for these trading days here where we got a little bit of a retracement and a bounce back. But we see that blue line not crossing above the black line and still in downtrend. So let's actually use this example in Scorpio tankers to really highlight how all of these predictive indicators work together. Now, energies have been quite weak, but it's actually one of the stronger areas currently in the marketplace. And so when we're looking for new opportunities, this is where VantagePoints and its tools like the IntelliScan help us identify some of these new opportunities that are emerging in the marketplace and really hone in broadly on, hey, what sector and group of stocks do we want to focus in on? So here in Scorpio, what we have is daily price action, right? So each one of these candles that you see there, well, that's going to represent a full and complete trading day. And it's right up against that price data that you're going to notice that there's a black line and also a blue line value there. Now, the black line value that you see, that is a simple moving average. This is a very common technical analysis indicator. In this case, it's a 10 period. So it looks back at the previous 10 closes, adds them all together, and then divides by that number. And that acts as a good rolling measure of where market prices have been. But obviously, traders want to know where is the market headed next, and this is where VantagePoint's predictive indicators come into play. So what we can do is compare that, what we might call a black lagging moving average that really only looks at past prices and it only looks at Scorpio in a vacuum, right? It's not looking at other stocks that may affect future prices here. And so what we're able to do is compare that black line to this proprietary predicted moving average. And for this number, essentially a price to get calculated and plotted on the chart for traders every evening, well, this is where the technology of artificial neural networks come into play, and they're performing what we would call intermarket analysis. And so rather than just looking at past prices like traditional technical analysis, VantagePoint's artificial intelligence and neural networks are able to look at other markets that are known to drive and influence future prices. So this can be those broader indices like the NASDAQ or the S&P or IWM or the Dow. It can also find relationships in individual stocks. Maybe it's other energy stocks, maybe it's not. Stocks that you wouldn't expect to share a strong correlation or relationship. But what's maybe even more important, it's even incorporating things like what's going on in the global commodity markets, whether that be oil, nat gas had a huge move last week, even down to things like currencies and global interest rates. So it takes this comprehensive approach looking at really all of the markets that can drive and influence future prices and uses that to generate highly accurate predictive indicators. So it's essentially forecasting price moving forward. So whenever we see that blue line cross above the black line, well, we're expecting those average prices to start going higher. Now, that's not the entirety of the forecast here, because every week at the bottom of the chart, we take a look at this predicted neural index, and this is tuned to solve a different problem for the trader, and that problem being short-term strength or weakness over a 2-day period, or we could think of that as 48 hours. And so what you see here with shares of Scorpio is the overall trend is up. And sure enough, we've gotten strength out of energies and nat gas, and that's propelled the whole sector higher. I think specifically in the transportation and tanker stocks, we're really seeing a lot more attention there. And so again, as long as that blue line remains above the black line, the overall trend is up. And this is really just getting started here, right? So the market hasn't moved very much, but what's really exciting about this is we're also provided predicted highs and predicted lows. And this is where traders can really fine tune their entries into the marketplace. So as we go ahead and bring up those actual predictions against the actual market data, we can see how this works. And when you identify that the overall trend is up, well, maybe want to look down towards these predicted lows to get a position and benefit as shares of energy start to move higher here. So really nice opportunity potentially getting started here. Again, the whole sector looking bullish in a market that has the indices lower and many stocks like we're going to look at here subsequently moving lower as well. Secondly, here's Dorian LPG. So this is another one of these tanker stocks. Again, we see this blue line crossing above the black line. Neural Index gets bearish here and we get a little bit of sideways price action, but notice as it clicks back to bullish, we see that momentum pick up and releasing again, many of these stocks start to move. So I bring this through just because we are so early in some of these opportunities, but already about a 5, almost 6% rally. But there's not that many areas of strength in the marketplace. One of the other areas is actually Topgolf here. So there was actually an upgrade from some investment analysts here. But as we see, VantagePoint is really 4 or 5 days ahead of that. We see that blue line crossing above the black line. Again, Neural Index getting bearish here and getting a little bit of a pullback lower in the market. But notice that blue line remains above the black line. And this leads to a very strong rally really just yesterday. So there are some opportunities where VantagePoint has really forecasted things, helped you get some really nice entries into the market. You see shares up already up 15% in the last 5 trading days. But let's get more back to the broader market. And this is where traders who maybe trade the indices or maybe trade some larger stocks that have gotten a lot of attention, especially back in 2024, are not really performing all that well. So here's Sherwin-Williams. Again, we see this predicted moving average. This goes all the way back here. Let's take a look at the date. All the way back to December 5th, getting that blue line crossing below the black line. Check out the Neural Index here, just bearish the whole way around. Sherwin-Williams is one of those stocks that's very robust, holds up, almost never has these really strong drawdowns here. But here we see a very strong downtrend, a lot of distance between our predicted moving average and the actual moving average. And so last week, we got a little bit of strength in the market that we see here with the Neural Index getting bullish, market prices running sideways, but still not even close to getting a crossover of our predicted moving average above our actual moving average. And so we still have a lot of markets that are in downtrend. Here, a 14-15% decline just in the past 19 trading days. So there's some excellent areas out there in the market to hedge and actually have some short position in combination with these very targeted and specific longs where we do see a little bit of strength coming in. But certainly the markets are warning us that you want to be very careful out here. There is a lot of weakness. Here, shares of Home Depot, again, getting this blue line crossing below the black line. Actually here, not much of a decline there on a daily basis, but still creating that predicted moving average to move below the actual moving average. And that starts the downtrend. And so we've got a lot of charts, just like those, indice charts, bigger trend moving lower, a little bit of strength last week with the Neural Index. But do we want to really mess with any of these stocks where our predicted moving average is below the actual moving average? Well, no. And the market remains in downtrend here. So we can look at these predicted highs and lows, and again, offering excellent entries towards the upper part of this range, but understanding that all you want to do is short, take profits on shorts, and keep reassessing the scenario. And this is where VantagePoint's tools like the IntelliScan can really hone in on exactly the types of trades that you're looking for, whether it be these longer reversals and swing trades or shorter term trades that may last, just a couple of days or potentially a week or so. Here's Workday. Again, just more of these opportunities, just more in the tech space, but just trying to highlight the breadth of a lot of this weakness. Here you see Workday cross over to the downside, getting a strong rally here as prices go higher, but the overall trend is still weak. And as we see that predicted moving average and actual moving averages spread really get even wider, that momentum from the short-term Neural Index indicating that this is certainly not a place to be long. And again, we can look at those predicted highs and lows. So even with this strong rally here, it's taking you right to that predicted high. And notice how the market closes right at that predicted high, very important level before we start getting more weakness. And even yesterday here, moving up to the predicted high and again, going lower. So if you have some profits from earlier on in the trade, It's a great opportunity to deploy those, and seeing a 3.5% decline just yesterday here in shares of Workday. Lastly, Novo Nordisk. So really popular stock with a lot of those, semi-glutide and weight loss drugs. But here we see getting a crossover to the downside. Again, like many of the indices in the broader market, many of these markets share very strong correlations. And when we start to see a broad turn down lower, you really want to pay attention to that, especially if you've got positioning in individual stocks. So again, we get this crossover here going back to the midpoint in December, but very clearly, short, take profits on shorts. You get the neural index bounces up here, you get a little bit of sideways price action, but notice how it quickly goes bearish and that momentum kicks in. And then this is where you really want to be careful, is oftentimes if you're positioned in stocks that are in downtrend, we can get a catalyst that really drives shares lower. So not only avoiding things like that, but making sure you're on the right side of these big gaps and big moves in the market. Here, a 20% decline just in the past 12 trading days. So really interesting stuff going on as we take a look at more of these individual opportunities, but also just the broader indices. Very weak. We'll have to really keep a close eye here on where we see strength coming back in. If we get some of these crossovers to the bullish side on the indices, maybe that'll shift things around. But this is where VantagePoint does an excellent job of getting traders ahead of many of these moves. I think IWM, it's been mentioned every week for the past 3 weeks as far as this weakness coming into the market in these previous Hot Stocks outlooks. So that'll be it for today. This has been our Hot Stocks outlook for January 3rd, 2025. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck out there, and bye for now.